Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ruger, and as always, surprising you with new topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. And we have a special guest here today, live in studio. We have the lovely Lexi Morley. Lexi, say hello.
Hello. I am the host's girlfriend who has mentioned me a few times because I'm that amazing.
You are. You're a very nice girlfriend. All right. So, Lexi, you are studying at the University of Minnesota. What are you studying?
Twin Cities.
University of Minnesota, Twin Cities, the main one, the
best
Gophers.
I'm studying biology and on a pre-med track.
So, what is the goal there?
To either go into PA school after I get my bachelor's or med school. Not sure which route I want to go yet, but I want to go into pediatrics, so definitely one of those.
It's a very interesting, very difficult major to choose. Is there anything else you want anyone to know about you before we dive in?
Not really.
All right, then we'll get going. We're gonna be going over a number of things with you today. To start off, though, before we begin, for any of my UFC fan listeners, we will be doing an exclusive episode about that next time. So there will be no UFC this episode, but we will be dealing with that coming up, recapping UFC Nashville and the Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz card. But for us, we'll be talking about some movies we've seen recently. We've seen a number of movies. We'll be talking about your family, some of the things that are going on in your life. All sorts of things, your dreams in life, your goals, all your aspirations and stuff. So you ready to dive in?
Sounds good.
All right. So for starters, I know you wanted to talk about the Barbie movie. I know I already recapped that, but did you have some thoughts about the movie?
Well, I know you liked it because of Ryan Gosling, but I actually liked it just as a young adult woman, teenager still. Because it actually showed, although like the part in when they first got to the real world was a bit dramatized, like that is actually something that I think almost every single woman I've ever met has experienced, and it kind of just like hit home because it's like remembering our childhood, but also kind of what women have to deal with as they get older. So I thought it was very good.
You're right. I did enjoy Ryan Gosling. I gave it an 8.1 out of 10, I believe, or an 8.3 out of 10. We'll say 8.2 out of 10 then. What did you give it?
I would give it like a 9.5.
Whew, very high on Barbie. I mean, I'll have to rewatch it because you can always give an official, or you will know how you truly feel about a movie when you rewatch it because recency bias is a real thing. I know I feel about that whenever I watch a lot of Marvel movies. I'm always super high on them, and as time slowly goes by, I'm able to dissect which ones are good and which ones are actually bad. So, Barbie, 9.5 out of 10. What was your favorite moment from that film?
Oh gosh. I think the part where all the girls and they were like trying to figure out what to do and Barbie was just like really depressed and she was having a mental breakdown. And then the mom of the daughter just like starts going off about like how, like all the standards that women are held to and how it's like impossible to be a woman. And then Barbie's like, I don't feel pretty, and she's like, are you kidding me? You're beautiful. It was a really cute scene.
That is a good scene for girls. I know my scene definitely is the I'm just Ken part, that whole montage. I mean, that's definitely what solidified that as a minimum 8 out of 10 movie for me. So I think we definitely took different parts from that movie on why we liked it. But hey, Ryan Gosling, definitely the star. We're going to get to some more Ryan Gosling later in the episode. Staying on the tune of that, we also watched The Notebook for the first time this past weekend. I had never seen The Notebook, a staple I feel that all women watch, all couples watch. And I will go as bold to say that this is definitely recently biased, a 9 out of 10. I'm going to give The Notebook a 9 out of 10. I very much enjoyed it. What about you?
Definitely a 10 out of 10. I've seen it, I don't know, like 20 times in my life. And it just, like, is amazing every single time. It never gets boring. Like, I never get sick of watching it. It's amazing.
I actually was at the library and I saw the book. I didn't realize that was actually based off of a book.
Yeah, he has made, um, gosh, I can't remember the title, but there's another book that they made a movie out of with Miley Cyrus and
Hannah Montana?
Liam Hemsworth. No, not Hannah Montana. Is Liam Hemsworth the one that she was married to?
Yes.
Yeah, so they actually met in that movie. I can't remember the name. But anyway, they met in that movie, and that's when like they got started dating, got married. But yeah, he writes a lot of
Credit to him.
romance movies.
That's impressive. That movie is one of the, I don't think it's highest grossing, but I know it's one of the most popular streamed movies. I saw something like that, but I don't know. I very much enjoyed it. I thought the whole angle of she's losing her memory, but he's keeping it alive, and it ends with them both remembering at the end. I mean, that is just wow, beautiful storytelling at its finest. And we also watched Jesus Revolution, now streaming on Netflix. I know we'd wanted to watch that for a while. As two young Christians, I very much enjoyed it, and I would give it an 8 out of 10. I don't know how are you feeling about the movie?
Um, maybe the same, maybe like 8.5, closer to 9. I really liked it. It was kind of like not confusing, but a little like, I don't know, fast, but also kind of slow at times, but it was still really good.
I felt it was able to work well with the budget it was with. I didn't know what it was even going in. I mean, even as it began, it kind of starts out confusing. It shows you a clip of later in the film to start out the movie, and then it basically just like cuts like a year before, and you're kind of like caught off guard. But I still think it was able to do good. It stars Kelsey Grammer, who is, I remember him from his role in Transformers Age of Extinction. He was one of the main bad guy humans. And it also stars Jonathan Romy, who plays Jesus on The Chosen. And I liked his character angle in this movie. Thoughts for you? Did you enjoy him as an actor?
Yes, I did. It was definitely a lot different than his, obviously, Jesus role in The Chosen. But it was also kind of, I don't know, like he also had the same vibe, but it went to his head. But it was just really cool to see like him not just as Jesus and this perfect guy, and as a actual human who's flawed.
Yes, truly. It shows the versatility of him as an actor. Because, I mean, I know for Jim Caviezel, once you play a role like Jesus, I mean, it's really hard to unsee you as that role. So being able to do more as an actor is certainly impressive. And I actually saw a fact the other day that actors are one of the least successful jobs. That there are more actors that don't do well than do well, which is weird to think because you see actors all the time making all the big money and stuff. But that's just how it goes. Well, actually, staying on this movie topic, I mean, we're pretty big movie people, honestly. We watch a lot of movies, don't we?
Yeah, yeah.
You saw the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie. I know that's more for kids. If you could even give it a ranking, what would you give it?
Well, okay, it wasn't by choice. I don't know, like a 6 maybe. I think if I was a young 7-year-old boy, I would have enjoyed it much more. Kind of cringy at times. They threw in words like Riz and gosh, I can't remember like the other ones, but just
was it
like
sus?
yeah, like sus and stuff. And I'm just like, this is a movie for like 10-year-old boys, 7-year-old boys, and they're throwing in words that like people my age and have used. It was just kind of weird, but it was cute.
I know it's getting decent reviews, but it is hard to watch some children's movies nowadays. The older you get, I won't lie, it does get difficult. But whatever the box office likes, the fans seem to like. I personally won't see it as an interesting looking animation style. I do know that like Ice Cube, John Cena, Paul Rudd, they're all voice actors in the film, but not for me. I was interested in seeing the Meg 2. Did you see a trailer for that?
Like 5 seconds of a trailer.
The first one was pretty good, but I've been hearing it's horrible. I've been seeing some terrible reviews. I know from Lights Camera, Barstool or whatever, their page, all their movie critics were giving it pretty bad scores. So I don't know if I'm going to check that out. Maybe if we have free time.
You did say that about Barbie, and then you ended up loving it. So.
This is true. I was hating on Barbie. and I was high on Oppenheimer. And after falling asleep the last hour, it was. We'll have to rewatch Oppenheimer together. Would you do that?
Yeah.
It's 3 hours though, so you need some free time. Um, we'll get to the Ryan Gosling movies. We're gonna rank our top 5 Ryan Gosling movies. I'm working on watching 10 Ryan Gosling movies, so I can do a top 10, and I'll put that in a future episode. But I do have top 5. I'm actually currently watching The Big Short. Have you seen The Big Short?
No, I don't think so.
Very good movie. It's kind of about the 2008 housing crash and how these guys were these like I don't really want to call them Wall Street guys, but these finance guys, they were able to determine it and profit off it. And it stars Ryan Gosling, so I love it. So Lexi, what have you been up to lately? Anything fun as of late? Places you've been? Anything?
Oh, I did take a vacation to Colorado. We stayed in this town called Larkspur, which is pretty close to the cities, and it was an hour from the National State Park, or actually it was a little bit over that, which was not that bad considering we had a 2-day car ride just down to Colorado.
Insane.
But it was amazing. Definitely my favorite place I've ever been. I would move there if I wasn't going to college. I love the mountains. I love the whole national park. Everything was just so beautiful and peaceful down there.
They do. The mountains are their own. Like, I know for people, I've seen the ocean, and would you compare the mountains to seeing the ocean? It's just a very surreal sight when you first see them.
Yeah, I mean, I've also seen the ocean. It's like cool, but the mountains it's just a whole different vibe. Like, it's just, you can't really compare them because the ocean's just water, and it's like, yeah, it's so pretty, but it's like you're just looking at water at the end of the day. But the mountains, it's just like there's so many just unique things in the mountains.
I would say that how I view the oceans and mountains is they're just these monstrosity of untamed wilderness. Like, there's so many mountains we haven't even been to in the world. And there's parts of the ocean we haven't even been to. It's just this immensity of how wild it is and untamed, and humans just, it's not their domain. And it's very cool. You got to go hiking, didn't you?
We went to, I actually cannot remember what this one place was called, but it's this huge like red rock area of like these, they weren't mountains, but they were like these huge kind of just rock structures that were red, and there were some white ones. That was pretty cool. We hiked around there, and then we also just hiked in the Rocky Mountains themselves. And we drove up to this place called Pikes Peak, which was the highest elevation in, gosh, I don't even know. I don't know if it was just Colorado and the Rocky Mountains or like
Large
ever.
vicinity.
It was, what was it, like 14,000 feet
Ooh.
up or something like insane, like the highest peak in Colorado, I believe.
That's very interesting. And the journey, how long is it to drive from Minnesota near the Twin Cities to just outside of Denver, Colorado? Because you guys didn't fly, you drove the whole way.
If you drive straight through, I want to say it's like 16 to 17 hours, sounds right, maybe 16. But we couldn't drive straight through, and just stops with the whole family that we have to take to use the bathroom and then eat and get gas. It ended up being, we had to take a 2-day trip and sleep overnight, so it was very long.
That is very crazy. I know I haven't personally been on long road trips like that before, but you have tons of experience in that domain. What are some other places you've been to?
Well, we go to not Colorado. We go to Tennessee a lot. I haven't been there in 2 years actually, which kind of sucks because I have my aunt and cousins who live down there. Cousins who are like closest to my age, and they moved away. I don't even know. It was probably like 10 or something, maybe a little bit younger when they moved away. And so we kind of made it like an annual trip to go down at like once a year and try to go down there and visit them. And that's always a 2-day trip because I think it takes close to like 19 hours if you drive straight through to get to where they live in Tennessee. So, yeah.
That's very far. The farthest I have been, gosh, what is that, east? I've been to Florida, and I think that's about it. And it's not even really considered the East Coast, is it? Florida's just its own type of area, actually. And I did verify Pikes Peak is the highest summit of the southern front range of the Rocky Mountains. So you were at the, did you go to the highest point?
Pikes Peak. Yeah, Pikes Peak is the
My
highest
bad.
point.
Pikes
It's,
Peak,
home place.
14,115 feet. That is very high.
Yes, it felt weird. It was definitely, you could tell how high up you were because it was hard to breathe like deeply and kind of at all. And I got a headache after like 5 minutes. So.
And you were touching the clouds, weren't you? Didn't you get to pass through a cloud almost or something?
That was not at Pikes Peak. That was just in the national park. But yes,
Oh.
that was very cool. It was kind of during like sunset and the clouds just like got low because it was pretty cold and dewy. And yeah, we drove like straight through a couple of them.
That's very cool. What are some other states you've been to? I know you've traveled around more than me.
I honestly can't remember all of them. I've been almost everywhere in the Midwest except maybe like Michigan, I think. I've driven through almost every state around the Midwest. Been to Missouri a couple times, Illinois, Iowa, all those ones. And then also going far out, we've been to Montana. That was also amazing. That's about as far west as I've been, Colorado, Montana. I've also been to Florida a few times, Virginia, and then Washington, D.C. and up around there. So, yeah.
If you had a dream state you could live in, what would it be?
Colorado or Montana.
Montana, interesting.
Yeah.
That's a state I definitely want to go to. I always see people there. I believe it's there that you can see, like, I don't know how to phrase it, the real night sky with, like, you can see, like, all the stars and everything and the color of it.
Yeah.
Without was it the light?
Just of cities, yeah.
It's called something. It's light pollution. That's what it is, light pollution from just all the electricity, the lights that we all use. That'd be very cool, but I don't know about you, but I wouldn't really want to go, how do you phrase it, like raw camping just in the middle of Montana.
Well, yeah, I can't really do tenting, but I would definitely like rent out a camper or just even a small little like cabin home or something down there.
I agree. I'd stay in an RV or something you could set up, but the idea of camping is always fun, and then you're sitting on the hard ground in a tent
and bears.
Oh.
You gotta bear proof everything around Montana and Colorado. So,
gosh, bears. They're cool in zoos, but I mean in the wild, I don't know. Oh, we've actually had some by my house. I think I've sent you a video of one that was walking our house. Just a black bear, but I mean, still immense in its power. So, Lexi, where'd you grow up at?
Wyoming, Minnesota, in a very tight neighborhood. I lived there for, I want to say 13 years, and then the house just got too small for my family. It was meant to be a starter home, but life just got busy, and we ended up staying there. So then we moved out, and then moved to Stacy, Minnesota, which is like, it was like 10 minutes away from
it's not that
where
far,
we were living in Wyoming. And yeah, those are the only two places I've been.
Go to school in that area as well, the Forest Lake High School District. That's also where I went.
Went to elementary school, obviously in Wyoming, and then after 6th grade, it was kind of weird because they were doing all these like renovations and stuff with the high school and the middle schools. So I went to, it was called Southwest Junior High. It was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade for 1 year. But then after my first year, my 7th grade year, they closed that down. And they moved 9th grade into the high school. So then I had to go to what they call now just Forest Lake Middle School, I think. Everyone called it Century back then because that's what it was before Southwest closed down. But then I went there for my 8th grade year, and then I went to the high school for the rest of my years, 9th through 12th. And that was kind of weird because it's like I was in elementary school, and then I went to 2 middle schools and then a high school. So I was in 4 schools in 4 years.
A variety of schooling.
Yeah.
So, siblings, parents, who'd you all grow up with? Some pets?
So I have 2 younger brothers and then 1 older sister. My older sister is like 10 years older than me, so she moved out pretty early on. And now it is me and my two younger brothers. One is 15 and one is 12. I had a dog growing up, but she was just too hectic and too much for our small Wyoming home. So we had to give her to another family, which is very sad.
Is that what your dad told you before he took her around back?
Stop.
Did you see this dog go to a new family?
Yes,
Thank
we knew
goodness,
the
thank
family that
goodness.
she went to.
I was hoping it wasn't an old Yeller situation.
No, she was a young dog. She went to a nice family that loved the outdoors, which is what she needed because our yard was not fit for her energy levels. And I also had a cat who everyone tells me that they hated because she was so mean to them when they like were babysitting me, like all my aunts and stuff, and she hated people and she would hiss at them and sit on the stairs and hiss at them. But like she loved me. So
that's all that matters then,
yeah.
right?
Yep. Now I have one other cat, not the same one, which was my great grandpa's, but then he passed away and no one else wanted her, so now we have her. But I've grown to love her, even though I begged my parents for a dog instead. But
and what is her name?
her name is Katie.
Katie. I can't believe your family followed the trend, or was it your grandpa who?
It was my great grandpa because his past cats he named Katie. And this was his like third cat, and he just didn't want to choose a new name, so it was Katie number 3.
I just never got behind naming animals human type names. They're funny almost.
Hey,
but
Finn is a human name. I know a guy named Finn.
yes, my dog's name are Scout and Finn. Scout is the most typical dog name, and maybe if you're from Ireland, your name's Finn, but I don't know about that. So what are some of your fondest memories growing up? We'll start in elementary school. Maybe at your old house or something.
Oh gosh, I don't even know. Just playing with my younger siblings when I was very young. When my cousins from Tennessee and everyone still lived in state, because now 3 of my aunts now moved out of state. Yeah, just kind of having like the whole family together, like when everyone was still around. And then I'd say as I got older, it would be being able to bike around my little Wyoming town with all my friends. We thought going to the gas station and getting our own snacks was the coolest thing ever. Yeah, I think that's all for middle school.
That's how most small towns are. We don't even live in that small of a small town. But I mean, there's just nothing really around us.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know for some people that like driving 30 minutes isn't too bad, but just no one ever thinks to just drive 30 minutes to the cities, like the Twin Cities. I know I live 30 minutes, but you live like 50 minutes from Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Yeah, it's close to 50
But those
minutes.
have kind of fallen off. They get kind of dangerous there at nighttime.
Yes, they do. I've already had some encounters, even though I'm not living there yet. So.
Oh yes, do you want to share your encounter with the homeless down there?
Well, so my friends and I had all just turned 16. We went to this restaurant down in St. Paul. Very popular restaurant.
Ooh, Casetas, wasn't it?
Yes.
Very good food there.
Area had been pretty safe since we knew of. However, we were dumb and didn't wait in the line for the parking lot at Casetas. And parking down in St. Paul is crazy. You have to either parallel park on the side of the street with traffic going right by you or try and find a parking lot and pay. But of course, we didn't wait, and so we parked. I don't even honestly know how far it was, a mile, maybe a little bit more away at like the Children's Museum or something, the most randomest thing, because we were just stressed out and we were just like, all right, let's just park here. And so we go to dinner, we walk there, it's fine. We kind of run into some construction and get a little bit lost, but it's nothing too bad. And then we finish dinner, it's getting kind of dark, and we're like, shoot, now we have to walk all the way back to the car. We're full, we're tired. And then we're walking, it's getting pretty dark, and everything's fine. And then all of a sudden we come to this like kind of bigger open area. There's like a whole there's like this huge circle of concrete and stuff, and we're walking kind of by, what's the hockey arena?
The XL Energy Center?
Yes, I believe we're walking by that, and my friends noticed these guys were kind of like following us. Not super closely, but they were just getting kind of too close for our comfort. It was one guy at first, and then another guy like kind of joined in with him. And we're like, all right, we're just going to keep walking. Like we just need to get to the car. We're kind of almost there. And then we get to this big, huge circle open area in the middle of the city, and there's just a whole group of homeless men. Um, and they're like a lot older than us and a lot bigger than us. And we're just walking, minding our own business. And then one starts yelling all these slurs and curse words at us and really hateful things. And then he's threatening us. And then these other guys kind of join in, and we are literally just afraid for our lives because, like, we don't know if these guys have guns. They probably do. And, like, we just don't know what's going to happen. Like, are they going to take us right now? Are they just going to shoot us? Like, what do we do? And I'm kind of falling behind because I think I was trying to have 911, like, set up to dial. And so I was looking at my phone. My friends are like, Lexi, like, get up here. You're falling behind, and there's guys right behind you following you. And so I freak out, and my friends are yelling at me because they're all worried about me and stressed. And it was a horrible experience. And we made it past that group somehow and lost the guys who were following us. And we made it to the car, and we were like, that was horrible. We actually feared for our lives. So,
Do you feel this is a lot of how should I phrase? Do you feel young women face this issue a lot when walking downtown?
Definitely. I mean, that's just like the one big time I've faced. I've also faced it even in my small town of Wyoming and Forest Lake, which is used to be not that bad. And like, it's just, women, especially teenage girls, get harassed so often by just random men.
Oh yes, we were walking into Target that one time, and that young boy yelled something. It's stuck with me since. It wasn't really like offensive. He said he's overachieving. I think he was complimenting you, or maybe he was complimenting me. I don't know, but I gotta put that on a shirt. I've been working on some merch. If you didn't know, when I had Ryan on, he used the term "chain brother." How do you feel about that, chain brother? And he overachieving shirts.
I don't think I would go for the first one. Maybe the second.
You don't like the chain brother shirts?
I can't.
That was because I got him a gift. But staying on this topic, women in other countries don't deal with this. I know maybe in some that's too broad. Didn't we see a video of a woman in Sweden walking alone at like midnight through a park, and she was perfectly fine?
No, actually, a professor that I met, who is a professor at my college that I'm going to, said, I honestly can't remember which country it was. It was either like Sweden or Finland or Norway, like something like that. Probably leaning towards Sweden. I can't remember, but she lived there actually, and she has a daughter who is my age. And her daughter and her would both like separately go out at night and just like bike home like from the store, or they would just go on a walk in the middle of the night at like 2 a.m. and feel perfectly fine because there was like nobody around, and they didn't have to feel unsafe at all. Like they never got harassed, even in the city. It's just like, I could not imagine going out in the city or even just kind of like any town and feel safe walking alone, especially at night as a young woman.
I truly believe that. And not to get too much into, men are like this, women are like this, but I just personally never felt like that. Now I think I'm aware of danger. I'm aware of when situations are bad. I do recall me and my dad. Actually, this is actually, it was around the XL Energy Center. We left a wild game. So clearly if you're walking around the XL Energy Center, you need to be on high alert. But we ate at this very nice restaurant, the Dark Horse, and then we were just gonna go and try and find parking. But there was a guy there who was like, "Hey, I actually bus people over there for like really cheap. You guys should go." And me and my dad are like, "Okay." And we walk around back to this alleyway, and there's just this white-looking van, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm definitely going to die. This is not good." But there were some other people with us, and we all got in, and he actually bussed us over. And I was like, "Okay, this is very nice." And the game's over. I believe we won like 6-1 against the Penguins. This was like in 2015. And we're leaving, and we're like, "Where's the bus? Where's the bus?" The guy said he would be here. And the guy never showed up in his little white bus van to pick us up. So we had to walk. It was a solid 20-30 minute walk back to where we had parked. And we passed this homeless man. I'll never forget this. My dad moved me from his side I was near the homeless man. He moved me to his other side as we were walking, and I looked directly at this homeless man, and he looked at me, and he licked his lips, and that image will never leave my mind. This Santa Claus looking homeless man licking his lips at me, and I just suppose it's all about being aware of your situations. And as for you at the University of Minnesota, I hope you're aware when you go out.
Yes, I will not be traveling alone, probably ever, unless I'm just running from class to class or my dorm. I will. I just won't. I will not feel safe, especially just knowing that there's stuff that has happened on campus already is just would freak me out.
Yes, it's a real danger. So if I could leave the viewers one thing, I would just say be aware of your surroundings, wherever you are, especially if you're in a city at night. But speaking of college, trying to move to a happier term, you're going to be an incoming freshman. What are some things you're excited about for your first year of college?
Definitely excited about the sports.
Yes, you got good sports teams at the
We are
University
a
of
top
Minnesota.
Big Ten football team.
Not top 10, yes. Big
Yes,
10
Big
conference.
10. Sorry.
You're not that good yet.
Okay. And our Gopher hockey team is actually pretty good too. I didn't get a season pass for that because they sold out in literally like 5 hours, the student season passes, so that was very sad. I did get a football pass, very excited for the games. The energy just looks amazing. I've been to, I think, maybe like one game in the past, but that was with my family, and so now to be a student there is going to be a whole different level of fun. And just the like social interaction and kind of freedom of it. I've already made a handful of friends at orientation and other college like little things we've had to go to, and I'm actually really excited because I was so nervous about making new friends, but it's honestly not that hard, and it's kind of been pretty easy, and I think that it's just going to be really fun to meet new people and just kind of get out of my small town that I've been in for since ever I was born.
So I will say, after 2 years down, I'll be heading into my junior year at Minnesota State Mankato. I will say, for any incoming freshman, the independence and freedom you have, it can be overwhelming at times. Because truly, right when your parents leave, after they've set you up in the dorm, it hits you right away. You're like, I'm on my own now. I can truly go to bed whenever I want. I can get dinner whenever I want. No one's telling me what to do. Now, obviously, you have rules. You'll have hall monitors and dorm monitors for your floor, and you'll have professors telling you what to do. And you can't be reckless, but you truly do learn how to function for yourselves. That's why I do encourage everyone to go away to college and even get an apartment. Maybe if you can't afford it in your second year, but if you're third year or senior year, I definitely encourage that. It teaches you even more independence on providing food for yourself. But I'm very happy that you're excited to go to college.
Yeah, I'm very excited for just to be at the U. I've literally wanted to go there ever since I was like 13 years old, and having to clean the frat houses that we had to clean at the U because my aunt worked down there and like leased homes or houses or apartments or something down there, and so I got stuck cleaning them. They're absolutely disgusting, but I just fell in love with the campus itself and all the architecture and everything down there.
Is it going to be full circle? You're going to go from cleaning the frat houses to partying in the frat houses? Is that what's going to happen?
I don't know yet. We'll see.
Yes, so we're going to take a short break, and when we get back, we're going to talk a bit about what's like to be a young Christian in today's society. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. And we're back from our little break. So, after watching the Jesus Revolution movie, I do have to say it really reminded me of just how good Christian movies can be. Because there have been some pretty stereotypical Christian ones in the. Have you seen those types of movies? Those very dull ones.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's like they're slowly becoming more blockbuster and such. And even the music, it's definitely improving from your stereotypical Christian rock. They now have rap now. They now have like hardcore rock.
Yeah.
Do you listen to any artists in particular?
Like just Christian artists. Elevation Worship, Maverick City, Halvey. What's his name?
Oh yes, Halvey, I believe.
That him.
From TikTok.
A couple other people. I can't really recall their names, but I just kind of listen to like whatever songs I like. I don't really have a specific artist. However, I do have a lot of music from like certain groups like Maverick City and Hillsong Worship and stuff.
Yes, I will say that I was very I wasn't really fully open about my faith, or I wasn't really fully involved in it until I met you. And you were like, hey, we should do a Bible reading plan. And ever since then, I mean, that was in 2021. We've read our Bibles every day since, essentially. Just very good for you, don't you agree?
Yes, it always like uplifts my spirits anytime I read it, and it gives you something like something to do that's other than sit on your phone or watch TV or play a video game. And I think it's just good to take a break from electronics and just read and gain knowledge and that stuff.
And I think one of the main problems with Christianity today, which it's been going on for thousands of years, is that it falls into the stereotypical hatred. Like, we hate people who don't follow the ways of the Bible. We hate you if you're from a different religion, per se. And that's just not the case. And I feel like that's what turns a lot of people off from even giving it a shot. Such as, like, yes, will you be condemned for the way you live your life? Yes, but that's not the point of it. And it's almost as if you can't really force someone to be a Christian. That's just not possible. Forcing Christianity will never work. Forcing anything on someone rarely works. You have to sort of open the door for them, and they themselves have to walk in. Do you agree on that statement?
Yeah, the term that my family and everyone I know uses is you plant a seed, and that's all you do. Like you either tell them the gospel, yes,
the
gospel, or you're just kind of just like talk about God and put that question out there, like, hey, have you ever thought about believing in God and if heaven or hell is real? And you just kind of plant a seed, and that's all you can do. Like, you can't make it grow yourself. That's only God can do that, and that person if they want that. So yeah.
And through all our time, there's been, in every era, there's been a new wave of temptation, per se, that truly makes it hard to be young and be a Christian in this society. Because you can't lie, the church is definitely associated with old people reading books over and over again. Can't you agree? You don't think of it as for younger age people.
Definitely. Yeah, that's why personally I feel the most welcome at I've been to a few churches. Like, my family has church hopped since I was little because my parents just didn't really find the one that clicked with them, that they felt welcome and at home with. But I think I found the one, and it's actually an hour away from my house, an hour drive, so that kind of stinks. So I can't go every Sunday like I want to. But it's just like there's so many like young people there. Everyone is just so open and welcoming. They don't care what you look like, what your past is, or where you come from. Like, there's just so many people from different backgrounds in that church, and everyone's just so loving and welcoming every time I go.
I love that. And honestly, churches have made what is it, make or break? They make or break people. They have made them or they have break them in the faith. And it's very unfortunate because a church is a good foundation, such as having a baseball team. But you're not going to get better just from going to church or playing on a team. You have to put in that work all on yourself. I think it's called that if you only work out spiritually on Sundays, you won't get fit. Such as if you only work out in the gym on a 1 day a week, you won't gain that much progress. Like, you'll gain progress, but it's not enough to stay consistent. And that is why having Bible plans is very important, surrounding yourself with people. I know I struggle with that, is finding more people nowadays that can agree with me on my stance on my faith. Don't you feel
I feel it with my peers. I definitely have a lot of mentor figures in my family that I can look up to. My grandpa was a pastor. He passed away a while ago, but his whole family, he had six siblings, I believe, and they all just got what's the word?
Saved?
Yeah, saved and transformed when they were all kind of young. And so, like, I look up to my great-grandma and all my great-aunts and uncles. Like, they're all just amazing and always on fire for the Lord. And even, like, my parents and my grandma and my other It's just, I have a lot of mentor figures to look up to, but I do struggle with the peer side of it because, like, in my high school, I didn't really have anyone who was really a Christian like I was that I could, like, go to church with or just go to the youth group nights or stuff like that. And so that is kind of hard, and I'm hoping to try and find a community of people my own age like that in college that share the same beliefs as I do.
I love that. And when people talk about like Christians don't, they are not persecuted, they persecute people, I truly challenge you to bring, in any casual conversation, bring up Jesus and see how fast the conversation turns awkward. When someone who doesn't follow any of that goes, "Oh, I don't want you to push that on me," or "Oh, talk about reading a Bible. I don't need to read a Bible to see how I live my way of life." It's like people automatically get offended that you're even bringing it up. And you see all the satanic imagery nowadays, which if you don't believe in forces of good and evil, then I don't really know what you believe in. And if you believe in the forces of good and evil, then you have to somewhat believe that there is a good father and a bad father.
Yeah. There's this actress, I don't know if she does that anymore actually, but her name is China Anne McClain. And she
Was she in anything that?
Disney Channel. She
Okay.
had like this ant farm show, and she's in a couple Disney movies, and she's very big in Disney
Yes,
Channel
yes, I think I've seen her.
back in the day, like when I was young. And I loved her. And she is now like a very strong, saved Christian. And I love watching her. She makes these videos of just like deep, like spiritual Christian talks. And I saw this one recently, and she said, she was talking about how people, everyone like is so offended by Christianity all the time. And they're like, you guys push it on us. And then she said, well, if there was a snake in my backyard, I invited you over to my house to hang out. And there was a snake in my backyard, and I walked outside and I saw the snake. I came back in, and then you were like, oh, I'm going to go in the backyard to get some fresh air. And I didn't warn you about the snake. I would be a horrible friend, because then you would get bitten, and I could have prevented that. I could have at least warned you about it, and then you would have to make that decision. Do I still want to go outside and face the danger of the snake, or do I not? And I thought that was a great, like, kind of like analogy of way to put it, is that, like, Christians, we try to warn you about the devil and hell, but you are the one who gets to make the decision on whether or not you believe that and want to take that warning.
And it's a very real warning. It is all real, heaven, hell. And one of the important things is that avoiding hell is not the goal. Making it to heaven is not the goal. It is truly learning who Jesus is. Because you can hear Jesus and you go, oh, Jesus is this guy that everyone worships and stuff. Yeah, I know he died on a cross. Yeah, I know all this, but I don't know much about him. But then you truly find out he can be your friend. He can be your father. He's always with you. You know, one thing about Christianity is that our God's omnipresent. He was in the past, he's in the future, and he's in the now. And honestly, no other religion has that, do they?
Not that I know of. No.
I know that I know Muslims, don't they believe in just one God, Allah? And I know you have Buddhists who believe in a number of things. I'm not even going to dive into that before I get canceled, before I can even take off with this podcast. But all I'm trying to say is that have an open mind when it comes to Christianity. Don't close it off as some propaganda or something. And nowadays, not to get political, but the media will easily label you, if you consider yourself a Christian, right-wing, a fascist, a racist even, which has no correlation whatsoever. I mean, Christians come in all shapes and sizes and colors. I mean, we went to church Sunday, and I saw every race there. But the thing is, do I view them as that race? I just view them as a person. So truly, it's how you view everyone that shows a lot about yourself. And once you come to the Lord, whenever you do or whenever you don't, but especially if you do, you will see that, oh, I have been led astray so long about all these things that are right and wrong. I mean, drinking, like having wine at dinner has turned into Saturday nights at the bar. I mean, falling in love with someone has turned into multiple nights of hookups. I mean, listening to a certain artist has turned literally into worshiping that artist. I mean, we have so many idols nowadays. It's definitely tough to stay focused as a young Christian. So much
Yeah.
temptation.
My roommate, she had a very unfortunate experience in high school, where these two acclaimed Christian boys, who I don't know, I think they were a year or two younger than her at the time, they just attacked her because they like asked her, "Are you a Christian?" She goes, "No, I don't really believe in that. I'm more of an atheist." And they started attacking her, calling her all these curse words and slurs and everything horrible, and saying she's gonna rot in hell, and just like kind of making a joke of it. But they were also like just attacking her for no reason. And after that, she kind of solidified her views. Like, I just don't want to associate myself if that's what Christians are like. And um, that's just really unfortunate because that's not what actual Christianity is about. It's about being like Christ. We want to be like Jesus Christ as much as we can. And he did not attack like that at all. He was all about loving and helping the sinners. He did not attack them and saying, like, you're a horrible person, you're going to hell. Like, no, it's we want to love everyone freely like Jesus loves us, even though we don't deserve it at all. And so I respect my roommate's beliefs, obviously, and she knows mine, and we like get along well because we respect each other's beliefs. But I just think it's really unfortunate that that does happen too often, where people who claim that they're Christian attack others for not believing the same things they believe, and it's like that's not how our world works. That's not how you should what's the word, like,
I can't I can't place what you're trying to say, unfortunately.
that's not how we should model Christianity to
Very
other
good.
people. So
Is very important. How you carry yourself is how others will view your morals. And I definitely think I struggle with that, engaging in even the littlest things. But one of the most important things when you're a young Christian, I mean, you feel on fire. Like, you're like, wait a minute, this Jesus guy, I finally know who he is. I need everyone to know who he is. And immediately, the first person you talk to, I know this happened to me. I asked someone I knew, I was like, hey, when was the last time you read your Bible? And he said, I don't need to read my Bible. And I was like, oh man, well, I was just asking you, like, if you know Jesus. He's like, why are you bringing up all this religion stuff to me? And he even brought up to me a bit ago. And I haven't really spoken to anyone else about it. I usually just kind of speak to people I know, like family members, and speak to other Christians I know. And I have to realize that you can't be turned off because one person doesn't want to hear it. And the thing that you actually did is you planted that seed in them, and they might not have even realized it. Have you dealt with any situations like that?
I mean, sort of, just kind of like people, old friends that I had, just assuming like that I was a horrible person because I was a Christian, and they just kind of assumed what I believed because they did not like religion at all. And I get that. I don't like the like rule religion aspect of it. I don't think that that's particularly right. I think of it as more of like a relationship with Jesus and God, and you just want to be the best that you can for them. And they just, it's, I don't know, I don't really like the whole rule aspect of it. And I know that's what turned kind of some of my friends away from it. But it's definitely not how I experience it, and I wish that everyone could experience it the way that I have.
And I love that you've had such an amazing experience with it. I know I was introduced to it when I was little, but church was just kind of something like, oh, it's Sunday. We gotta go to church. Oh, I gotta sit through this. But one thing I did want to say for anyone struggling with temptation with sin is that when you fail, because all fail and come short of the glory of God. That's a Bible verse, isn't it? I think I heard the pastor say it. Am I right? Or
I think so.
it's
Not
either
those exact words, but yeah.
yes, but all fall short. Is that you have
Yeah.
to realize that the shame you feel, it'll happen because you all feel shame. You're like, oh, I've fallen short. When your dad asks you to do something and you do it wrong, he tells you, oh, don't do this, and you do it, you feel shame. All right, you have to understand that shame is not from him. He doesn't want you to feel shame. He wants you to immediately come back to him, repent. And when you hear like people say like you need to repent of your sins or you will go to hell. Repenting is going, look, God, I truly didn't want to do that. I did it. Teach me how to not do that and be faithful with you. And can you please forgive me of this? And he will, because that's the type of God we have. It's very amazing. And one thing that I do note about the Bible is that people say like, oh, I don't want to follow the... Let me backtrack. Let's say you don't believe in any of this stuff, the Bible, none of that. Okay, you don't believe in this. Do you mean to tell me it has bad teachings? Let me read you a Bible verse, okay? This is Philippians 2:3. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself. So let's say you don't agree with the Bible. Can you at least agree with these words that valuing others before yourself will make you feel good? Maybe if I treat someone else with respect, that'll make me feel good. Now, obviously you have to look over yourself. I mean, that's not what it's saying. But it's definitely saying, if you take others' opinions into account, that'll take you wonders, because oftentimes, don't you feel we get caught up in our own views as being right? So when someone opposes them, you're wrong. Do you feel like that's a good statement at all?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Any thoughts on it whatsoever?
Like, what? The thinking you're right? Or...
No, just, people think that their way is always right. But at the end of the day, there is a set truth in life. Such as Democrat, Republican.
Yeah.
Okay, this is definitely not your domain, so we're going to move past this. But I have enjoyed talking.
I get what you're saying.
You don't, but it's okay. I have enjoyed talking about just Christianity with you. I feel like it's not brought up enough. I feel it's very important. And I do encourage everyone to give it a try. And if you don't like it, don't hate. Just go, hey, maybe it's not for me. And I'll go, okay. But you listened. And maybe, hopefully, you will find that it is truly the best way to live your life.
It is because a lot of people think that, like Christianity means that you have to be this perfect person. That's absolutely not true. God wants you to come as you are to him. He wants you to be a mess. He wants you to be, just like, feel like you're making all these mistakes. You're a failure. Like, he wants you to come to him as that person, and then he will change you. You do not have to change before you go to Jesus. Like, that is kind of the whole point. That's what's so amazing about it, is that I fail like 20 times a day.
Daily, yeah.
And it's like he doesn't love me any less, which is just crazy because, like, in a relationship, if you mess up and you hurt your partner's feelings or you do something even worse, like you cheat on them, it's like that person will probably not really forgive you, and they will probably stop liking you as much or even loving you.
Oh.
But it's like that's not the case with God or Jesus. Like, we do horrible things to them and they still love us unconditionally, which is just amazing.
An unfortunate aspect nowadays is people don't want the accountability, especially the young Christians. Like, oh, Jesus is telling me I can't party. Well, then he's lame. Like, no, that's not what he's saying. He's saying, maybe Rebecca, I don't know Rebecca, that was just the lady's name I was using. Maybe if you didn't go and get blackout drunk, sleep with your ex-boyfriend, say a bunch of things to people that you may regret, curse words, that maybe you'd be happier if you were to just relax in your room, read your Bible, go out with your friends, not drink. Maybe you'd be happier that way. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But I know I struggle with stuff. You easily get caught up in that college lifestyle. But everyone's always improving in all aspects. I mean, I know you're improving a lot in life. You mature as you grow up. Everyone does.
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed this chat about Christianity.
Me too.
I'll have to have you back. We can go over this a bit more. I need to start taking notes during pastors' sermons. Just any church I'm at. Can you agree with it? Yeah.
That would be very helpful because then you It's like right after you feel amazing, but then it's like, wait, what did they exactly say?
I
So,
remember Sunday, it's like you you hear you hear this message, and then literally it's later at night, and you're like, wait, I'm not practicing what I was feeling so much earlier. And it's weird, but like everything in life, we live in the moment, and as a moment passes, you can easily forget about what you were just trying to change your life about whatsoever. So we're gonna take another quick break. Then we're gonna get into a bit more about your family. All right.
all right.
All right, we're back from our break. How have you been enjoying the podcast so far?
I like it. I don't like different from what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting you to talk about UFC the whole time, but I also thought it was going to be hard to talk and think about what to say, but it's actually been pretty easy. It's kind of
No, I
fun.
know you're definitely my first listener to be a guest because I know you're very good. You listen to my episodes I put out. I appreciate it. And yes, we are live on rss.com now, so hopefully this upload goes well. If it doesn't, then you'll obviously know because you won't be seeing this episode. But we're gonna work on that. But we have a couple more things to talk about, Lexi. Then I'll let you go. But you do have two brothers. One of them does have a terminal illness.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be okay talking a bit more about that? Maybe educating the viewers on it?
Yes.
So, first off, what is this illness?
The name of it, shortened name, is MPS. That stands for mucopolysaccharidosis. He has type 2. There are, don't ask me exactly how many types. I know
Multiple?
there's at least like 9, 10 of them now
Wow.
because they just keep getting discovered. He has type 2, which is called Hunter syndrome, named after a guy who I believe they found first had it. And it is a I don't really
Terminal?
Yes,
Is that the
it's
word?
terminal, but it's he is missing a enzyme in his body that most people have. If you're not someone who has this disease, you have this enzyme. And it basically, like, to dumb it down, it just removes all the junk from your body. Like, enzymes have a lot of functions, but he's missing a specific one, and the specific one is very helpful, removes all the junk and helps everything be healthy and grow. And because he's missing that, it has caused him to lose his ability to talk. When he was younger, he knew like a couple dozen words. He couldn't speak in full-on sentences. However, he could still communicate with us. Over the years, he has lost his ability to talk, and then he has lost his ability to eat. He now has a feeding tube. He has lost his ability to walk. He used to be able to walk like on his own well. He would run around a playground with me, like we would play together all the time. Now he cannot walk. And he's basically lost his ability to swallow. He can't, eat by himself. And he now has a tracheostomy, a trach, which is the thing in your neck that you see like some maybe old smokers have or something. And it basically just helps him breathe because his brain kind of forgets to breathe like out of his nose and his mouth, which sounds weird, but basically his brain is just slowly dying because of the disease, the enzymes that are missing. Everything is just getting attacked and not able to remain healthy and grow. And so this disease is a regressing one, which means that instead of, growing and getting better, it goes backwards. So basically he has reverted to a baby stage, except with many health issues. And so, yeah, his just kind of everything gets like very more, I don't really know what the word is, but basically he has lost his ability to do everything that I think most people like would take for granted, like to walk, to eat or talk, or even like breathe on your own. So yeah, it's definitely hard. It's very different for everyone that has his disease. MPS type 2, the type that he has, runs only in boys. Only boys can get his type. However, other types of MPS and Sanfilippo, which is another type of MPS, girls can get it too. And the gene didn't run in my family. It was just, somehow it just happened. It can be genetic though. And yeah, it's just some boys, they live to be 20 years old or even like 21, and they're still alive, and they can still kind of talk, obviously not full sentences, but they can still communicate a little bit. They can walk for the most part. They might need some help. But then other boys, they sadly pass when they're like 9 or younger. And so it's a disease that is very ugly and takes away the lives of a lot of young boys. And it's a lot. It's sad.
Yes, it's very sad to see, and every single terminal illness disease is very sad, but this one being a regressing one is certain. It's certainly very hard on the family, on your family, as I've seen, and I'm sure you know that you truly do see the progress detract after moving forward. So, I mean, you were somewhat little. Do you remember the age when he first began to sort of regress per se?
Um, I there's not really an age. I mean, starting from when he was little, he had issues. The reason why they diagnosed him is because after he was born, gosh, I don't know exactly how old he was. He was either between 6 months to a year, and he had like a runny nose constantly ever since he was born. And he looked a little bit different. He had a little bit wider nose, but nothing like too drastic. And so they took him to their pediatrician, and they're like, we don't know what's going on. Like, he's been having runny nose, like cold symptoms ever since he was born. This is not normal. And she was able to run some tests and remember that she had a patient back in medical school who had MPS. And she's like, let's take an x ray of his bones. And the bone structure of MPS boys is very different. Their hands are curved, their fingers are curved. They can't really open them straight like ours are. So their fingers are curved, their bones are more fragile, and their backs are usually more curved, and their heads are tend to be bigger. There's a lot of physical um, qualities that look very different in MPS boys than someone who doesn't have MPS. So there's that. I mean, I'd say when he was diagnosed, like, he still had issues. He had to wear a back brace because they thought it was just scoliosis, something they could fix because he had spinal like issues. It was misshaped. But then they were told that it is probably just the disease and there's nothing that they can do about it. But I mean, he was a normal kid for the most part. He had many doctor's appointments still. He was on many meds ever since he was born to try and stop the disease. I mean, he lost his speech when he was, I'd say, probably like 9, maybe fully is when he stopped saying any words at all. And then walking, I'd say he just stopped walking a couple years ago, like maybe 3 or something. He could walk before that with like my parents' assistance. Like, they would have to hold his hands, but he could still walk with them, like a little baby.
Okay.
And we have to hold their arms and help them walk. It was like that, but he could still walk a little bit around. And now unfortunately, his bones are just too fragile. His body doesn't remember how to walk, so he can't do that anymore. But yeah, he stopped being able to eat just a couple years ago too. Like, maybe it was a little bit over 3. I can't exactly remember. The trach is a new thing. He just got that in January because he was in the ICU. But yeah, it's definitely very hard, and it's like everyone. I've had some friends who are like, well, isn't it kind of easier since you've known he's gonna die young? And I'm like, yeah, but it's not something that we can actually prepare ourselves for, because while we know that it's terminal and there is no cure or treatment that will save him from it, it's still like we have no idea when he will pass. We had no idea what this disease would look like on him, because while it is very similar in all boys because it's the same disease, some of them, like I said, live to be 20 years old and they can still kind of talk and do like walk and stuff. And then other boys, they die when they're 9, 8, 5 years old. And so it's you don't know what to expect. And yeah, so it's definitely not easier knowing that he's going to pass away at a young age, because it's still something like I've been worrying about that ever since I was little, like 6 years old. I was, worrying about like is he gonna die tomorrow? Like, it's just, we just never know. So that's why we don't take his time with us for granted at all.
No, never. And he's been such a fighter. I mean, I've known you, gosh, probably 2.5, roughly, over 2 years at least. And, I have seen the disease take its toll, but, I've never seen someone fight it as hard as he has. And truly, truly, it's inspiring to see for someone that you can't directly communicate with, but you can just tell that he's in there, and he's truly. I know he appreciates your mother and all that she does for him. I mean, that's I can't even imagine that what it must be like for a mother knowing that their children is going to unfortunately pass away. It's just terrible. And what is your mother's Facebook? I know people can follow the journey. I know they have MPS donations.
Yes, the MPS National Society, they have like a website. I believe if you just type in MPS, it'd probably pop up. Or Project Alive is specific for MPS type 2. And they are always accepting money because these boys, there is no cure yet for any types of MPS. They have trials of new meds that they've come up with that they try, but all they do is prolong the death and they don't actually cure anything. And they just don't have the funds for all the research that it takes to find a cure, if there is one. So, yeah, if you want to donate, just type in MPS, all capital letters, National Society, or projectalive.org. You could donate there, or just like research if you want to know more about this disease. That's always a good place to look. They have a ton of information on there.
And I mean, I wouldn't even ask to plug that if I hadn't been there because he was in the hospital early this year for many months, and the doctors have already said, like, we don't know much about this disease because it's so
it's rare, and it's yeah.
What's the opposite of heavily funded? Unheavily funded. It's a very unheavily funded disease. And for, obviously cancer is terrible, but I mean, if we could put any form of the amount of money we put towards this, I mean, it would do wonders for that community, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And just all medical diseases overall. I mean, it is a tragic thing. And I know, as much as I do criticize scientists at times, they do work very hard to try and find cures to diseases like this.
Well, yeah, and because I think I forgot to mention, it's a very rare disease. This is not a common one like breast cancer or lung cancer or what's another good one, like Down syndrome. It's a very, very, very rare disease, especially because MPS type 2 only happens in boys. And it's not, I don't know the exact numbers of the rarity, but it is very rare. And so that means that a lot of doctors just aren't informed on the disease. Like with different types of cancer, like lung cancer, breast cancer,
Throat
brain cancer. Yeah.
Tongue cancer.
Okay.
I just know people with that, so.
Yeah. They have a lot of research on cancer because, like, they've been able to run tests on all these people who donate their organs when they have cancer, and it's just been around for forever. And it's so common that, like, every doctor is aware about it, and especially popular diseases like CF or just stuff like that. But with MPS, most doctors aren't educated on it in school. Like, you don't see it. You don't see a lot of patients with it. You might come across one in your lifetime, but that is very rare because there's not a ton of patients with MPS in like every state. So it's very, very unfortunate that it's very hard to like get answers when there is an issue with my brother because the doctors, they just don't have an answer. So.
And I've firsthand seen that you've been dealing with this your whole life, of the worry of him passing away. I mean, anytime your mother calls at an odd hour of the night, does that thought creep into your mind at times?
Before he was hospitalized in January, I would say no. I mean, a little bit. However, I definitely wasn't as worried with it. But after he first got pneumonia and was put in the ICU, the PICU, pediatric ICU, which is intensive care unit, for 3 months in the beginning of, it was right after New Year's actually.
Of this year, 2023.
Yes, right after New Year's. And after that, like, whole experience seeing him, and he died, like, almost very close. I don't want to say he died. he almost died 2 times in the hospital. So that was very, very scary. And so yeah, after he got out of the hospital, thankfully, we've been more on our toes because there's just, now that he has a trach, there's just so much more stuff that could go wrong, and you just never know.
It's, I'm always here for you, as I'm sure you know, and I mean, this has consumed your family, but I mean, it's truly brought you guys into different paths of life, connected you all, and it's definitely a blessing in disguise, but I mean, a very rough blessing, a lot of lessons learned, but I mean, it's something that you guys will remember the rest of your lives, and Peyton continues to fight on to this day, and I mean, he is at the ICU now, isn't he?
Yes, he is not admitted for a sickness. They are running some EEGs and like brain tests, like CAT scan and stuff like that, because they found out after his doctor's appointment visit like a week ago that he's been having, I cannot remember the name, starts with a G. It's a type of seizure. He's been having this type of seizure where it's like a laughing attack, and he just has uncontrollable laughter, and it's a seizure in his brain, and it would be fine. Like, everyone's like, oh, like, look, he's just so happy, but it's just uncontrollable laughter to where the point, like, he isn't able to breathe. And so they brought him in to, like, hopefully get some answers and some medication. But then after that visit, he has been sleeping, like, 16 hours a day.
Oof.
Which is twice the normal amount, like, if you are lucky to sleep 8 hours a night of someone, like, normal. And so, yeah, they brought him in to the ER, and now he's in the ICU and getting some tests done to hopefully find some answers to that.
That is, I'm praying for him. I know all my family is praying for him. And let's hope everything's good. He'll be able to come home as usual.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank you very much for educating everyone. If we could leave off this topic on a funny note of sorts, some memories of when you guys were younger with him. I do know that he was known to put you in headlocks, headbutt you, pull your hair. He was a very aggressive younger brother of sorts.
He was an aggressive lover. That was kind of his way of showing love. Like, he would grab my neck, put me in headlock to kiss me on the cheek. And it's like, thanks, dude, but you just gave me whiplash there. And yeah, he was so funny as a kid. His favorite word was mine. Anyone tried to take away, he had a little snack cup full of the s'mores goldfish, which I don't even think they make anymore. That was his favorite.
Goldfish? What?
Yeah, it was s'mores flavored goldfish, and that was his favorite. And if anyone tried to take that away, he would yell "mine" at you, or just like any movies. He's a movie lover. He loves movies.
Oh, all the Pixar, all the Disney.
Yeah, Cars, Toy Story, and he would even cry at one part in Monsters Inc.
Oh,
so yeah, there's so many good memories. He's always so funny and so energetic.
Definitely not aware of his strength with when he was trying to give you hugs and such.
Oh, he's so strong. Just the way his body is shaped. He's very short because his bones didn't, they can't fully grow because of the disease. But he is just like wide, like he's big. He isn't anymore because he has been in the hospital so much and can't eat himself, so he has feeding tubes. So he's lost weight. Everyone who was younger, he was a big boy. And he just would ram into you and headbutt my dad whenever he got home, and headbutt you, and it hurt. And he would pull my hair and yank it out. He was very strong for his little tiny age.
Yeah, and as much as this diseases take its toll, he will always be your little brother, won't he?
Yeah.
And I love that. All right, we're gonna take one more little break, and then we're gonna end off with a little ranking. I mean, I love my rankings, so we're gonna rank Ryan Gosling movies. We'll talk about that in a second. Before we actually get into the ranking, I did forget to ask you. You have mentioned this to me in the past. How Peyton's disease has influenced what you're choosing to do now with college and even your future career you want to go into?
Yeah. So, well, okay, I'll go back to when I was younger. When I was younger, I tagged along to almost every single one of his doctor's appointments and hospital stays because he has had countless surgeries, like literally countless, and just hospitalizations for different sicknesses and infections and stuff like that. And countless doctor appointments because he has literally a medication for like pretty much every single thing in his body, like every single organ, like literally everything. And he has even more now that he has a trach and stuff like that. But when I was younger, and especially before I started like kindergarten, I tagged along to every single doctor visit. And then even throughout school, like I would still go on the weekends and after school. And I just kind of like the hospital became my second home, which is like kind of a weird thing to say. And it seems kind of sad, but it really wasn't because I loved the children's hospital. Because it was just like they had a playroom full of toys, and my youngest brother, who actually has autism, he's on the spectrum, um not severe to where some points, like some kids with autism, they don't talk, and but he's verbal, he's more less severe. However, it still has affected him. He had to go to some therapies, like speech therapy, when he was younger to kind of learn how to talk more because he's had a little bit of a speech impediment because of that, and like anger management and just stuff like that.
I would say he's certainly better. Like, if you hadn't told me he had autism, you probably wouldn't notice it.
Oh yeah, my friends tell me that all the time. It's like everyone, they're like, "Oh, your little brother Logan has autism," and I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "I never would have guessed that." And it's like, yeah, until you see him have a meltdown, but it definitely has gotten better as he's getting older, which is good. But anyways, yeah, I would just like running around the hospital and like just having everyone know our family, which is kind of sad because that means that we're there all the time. However, we always had, most of the time, I don't say always, most of the time had great staff, hospital staff, taking care of Peyton. And I don't know, everyone just made it so fun. Like they would just, there was a little snack room on the floor that he would always stay in. And I would go in there and steal the snacks, and they'd pop and like popsicles. I loved that for sure. Because, you know, my mom didn't buy that stuff at home. And it's like, oh my gosh, all this candy and treats and pop that I can have. But it's kind of sad to think about.
Dream. A kid's dream.
At the hospital. It's kind of sad to think about because while I was, you know, like living my best life at the hospital, if you want to say, like my brother was going through like infusions or treatments or stuff like that. But just that whole experience is definitely something that no one I know like has experienced. Like no one I know has grown up in the hospital like I have. And that has just put into perspective so many different things. Like I don't judge people. Like if I see someone that looks different than me, like someone with Down syndrome is a good example. I don't like think, oh, they must be like slow. I hate that term. I hate when people say that because it's just that's so not true. You have no idea how severe their disease is, like, or anything.
And before you continue, speaking of slurs, I do want to talk about a big one that is thrown around a lot. You certainly opened my eyes to how hurtful it can be, and that is the R word.
Yeah, I do not like the word. And it's like people who don't know anyone who has a disease or something like that, illness, it's like they don't understand what it means. They're like, well, I'm not using it at that person. I'm just telling that to my friends. And it's like, well, yeah, but that doesn't make it okay. Like you're using it in a derogative way. You're saying that they're dumb by calling them that word, or like they're stupid or they're slow, and that's just not true at all to people who have diseases or stuff like that. And it's very offensive, and I do not like that word. And people will say it like, oh, that you're just like soft, and I'm like, no, I'm just not a horrible person. Like, I don't know.
No, I completely agree that it's the words give them I saw this phrase earlier. It's words are the power that you give them. So I mean, you're not going around calling people the N-word, and that's not racist. You're not calling Chinese people the C-word. You're not calling Jewish people certain slurs. And that may not apply to certain, like, I'll say sizes. I know people like to throw around the term like, oh, you're a sizist. You're being, like, offensive toward me because of my size. That's a bit more lenient. But when it does come to people with special needs, the R word is hurtful even when you don't mean it directly towards them. You just should not be using that word, and I now notice it a lot more. now that I don't use it.
Yeah, my friends even have stopped using it since I met them because they just realized, like, hey, I'm using this word in a negative way towards someone. And yeah, we're just like poking fun, and like they never would say it to someone who has special needs, but it's just the fact that you're using it because people used to like call people with special needs that word like doctors would. And then people started using it in a derogative way, and that's when it becomes an issue. And so I just don't like it being used at all because you're never using it in a good way to like mean, oh, you're so amazing. Like, that's just not what that word means. So,
No, not at all. So, visiting the hospital, growing up in the hospital, huge impact on your decision now to want to go into the medical field.
yeah. So, back to what I was talking about. Like just growing up there, I met so many doctors. And so when I was little, like I probably wanted to be like a teacher, like every typical little girl wanted to be when they're younger, whatever. But then I was like the first one, like in elementary school, I was like, I want to be a neurosurgeon.
Right to
And
the hardest surgeon there.
yep, I was like, I want to work on brains. Like I want to do that. And then I got told, probably in like middle school or something like that, by a neurosurgeon who was, I believe, a student at the time, a resident. I'm not exactly sure what he was. I think
At
he
the
was.
hospital?
Yes, at
Okay.
the hospital while
You
Peyton
said
was in there.
school, and I was like, you had a neurosurgeon at your school.
Like while I was in middle school, but I was in the hospital with my brother.
Yes.
And I think it was a student at the time. He was going to become a neurosurgeon. He says, and my mom like mentioned it. Oh, Lexi wants to be a neurosurgeon when she gets older. And he's like, oh, yeah, if you want to not have time for yourself or your family and have a family life, this is the job for you. If not, don't do this job. You will be miserable. Everyone who I know who is older and is a neurosurgeon, they are unhappy with themselves and their life. And that just deterred me from it. I know that shouldn't. However, I don't really have a passion for that at all anymore. Like, I think being a brain surgeon could be really cool. Like, that sounds amazing. But I just don't have a drive to just sit there at a operating table and work on someone's brain all day. Although that sounds amazing. I love dissecting things. I took a anatomy class and I love dissecting like animals and looking at actually like all the organs and body parts. It was amazing. But I just know I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. So then it turned to, oh, I want to be a geneticist because geneticists like are the people who basically just like study genes. And Peyton, my brother, has an amazing geneticist. His name is Dr. Whitley, I believe. I think that's his name.
Sounds right.
He has since moved to California, which is very sad. But oh wait, am I thinking the right doctor? I don't actually know
Whatever
if that
his
part
name
was
is.
correct. Yes, I don't think that's true. Anyways, he is a great geneticist, and he has just like been a huge advocate for Peyton and MPS kids. And it's just amazing. And they work so hard to try and study the genes and study ways that they can like alter the gene to maybe like create a cure, or study them to see like what exactly like is the issue and what they can do to have treatments or, a cure. And so I was like, I think that would be really cool. Like genes interest me, like, learning about them in biology. I was like, this is really cool. But then I was like, well, I think I want to actually work more general. And so now I am going into pediatrics. Hopefully that stays that way and I don't get scared out of it. Because I don't know, like we have an amazing pediatrician too that has been the doctor of me and all my siblings. And she is the one who got Peyton diagnosed, and they're just amazing. Like, yeah, you might have one who doesn't actually enjoy their job, and that's very unfortunate, but I want to be a pediatrician because I just really want to make an impact on kids' lives. And I've seen what a great doctor can do for a family who is struggling with, like, their kids are struggling with the illness or anything. And I just think it would be really cool. And I love kids. I do. And just being able to work with them and help families through tough times and stuff like that, that's my dream. So Peyton has definitely been the reason why I'm going into the medical field. I don't want to say the only reason, because I'm definitely interested in the actual like human anatomy part, but he has played a huge role in my decision to go into the medical field and actually be a physician, a pediatrician. So, yeah.
I love that. And it's important to have big dreams, big goals. And when you have the backing like you do with Peyton, it's such a driving force. I have no doubt you'll achieve this goal. I'm very happy that you're very open in sharing with all this information. I'm happy that you want people to know about this.
Well, and I've taken EMR, Emergency Medical Responder.
Oh
and
my gosh, sure. You're
EMT.
certified. You're a certified EMT.
I am. And I took EMT, Emergency Medical Technician, in high school with my favorite teacher in the world. I actually had known her since I was in elementary school because she worked with Peyton when he went to school. And she's an amazing person.
What's her name? Share her name. Plug her out there.
Tracy Johnson. And she is actually a firefighter and EMT. And I loved EMT with all my heart. It was the hardest class I've ever taken. I mean, yeah, I have only gone through high school, but it required like 7 hours of homework each night, maybe more if I had to study for a test. We had at least minimum of 2 tests a week. So yeah, it was definitely hard, but it paid off because I passed the national registry for EMT. I got my certification. I'm unfortunately not able to work as one right now because in my area they won't accept you if you are going away to school in 2.5 months, which sucks. But I'm hoping to maybe find one down in the cities or next summer if I can get on it right away and work maybe just at a clinic or possibly on an ambulance, because I love the whole emergency medicine aspect and just being able to read about the physiology and anatomy of the human body is so interesting to me. And I love being able to know what goes on in our body and why it does that and how it does that. And being able to like help someone and, respond to their emergency is just, I think would be amazing. I definitely couldn't do it as a full-time career. That's not what I am passionate about it, but I'm not to the point where I would want to work as an EMT or a paramedic every day of my life. So that's why I'm going into pediatrics, because I think it would just fit my personality more and my kind of what I want. But it's definitely something that I have enjoyed, and it's been the most rewarding and fulfilling experience I've had in high school.
That is one of the coolest, like, if you want to use video game terms, side missions. I mean, like what was I doing my senior year? I was working at Cubs. So when I was stocking produce, when I was stocking apples, you were learning how to perform life-saving surgery on someone. Not surgery, life-saving resuscitation. Would that be a good term?
There you go.
But that's incredible, and I love that. And that's such a good achievement for you. And you are truly very you have good medical expertise, per se.
Yes, I definitely was. I don't want to say I definitely wasn't the smartest kid in my EMT class, because there was a few boys who just were brainiacs, and it was annoying, but whatever. But I, like my teacher and everyone else, just kind of knew that I had more of a good background than they did because of Peyton, because I grew up in the hospital. I was around all of the terms, like all the anatomy terms and medical terms that they used. And so I kind of had a good basic understanding of it already going into EMR and EMT. And so it was pretty easy for me to catch on to everything and like understand it, which was very nice. So
you think if I were to quiz you on terms, you'd be able to remember them all?
Oh yeah, I followed like this page on Instagram called Savage Paramedics, I think, and they put like quizzes on their story all the time of what does this medical term mean, or what is this injury from, and I love taking those.
Yeah, they'll show like car accidents of like people severed in half. Oh my gosh.
They show gruesome pictures and x-rays of the most weirdest things, like things shoved up in places and stuck in places where they shouldn't be, and it's like objects that should not be in your body, but people just are dumb enough to put them in there. I don't know.
Hey, don't judge people. Some people have kinks, And...
Yeah, okay.
All right. I'm very happy that you are going into a field you are passionate about for a very good reason.
Yeah, me too.
So thank you for sharing. Wow, we got sidetracked there for a second, but I think we're ready to dive into our final segment. I mean, this has flown by, hasn't it? Or do you feel like we just begun?
Yeah, kind of.
So we'll dive in. We are going to rank our top 5 Ryan Gosling movies. I know it's not top 10 because have you seen 10 Ryan Gosling movies?
I think I've seen only 7. So
I'm at 6 right now. I'm in the process of watching 7, and then I have 3 more to watch. And then yes, maybe on the next episode or the one after, I will give a full breakdown of my top 10 Ryan Gosling episodes. But the whole reason we're doing this is because of Barbie. It's
yeah,
fresh in our minds. I can't stop singing. I'm just Ken or Push, the cover of the Matchbox 20 song. And we all know from my Barbie Mania episode how into Ryan Gosling I am. So, do you want to go over our top 5 movies and then round it out?
sure.
Alrighty, so do you have your list?
I do.
Alright, so I have mine. And these movies are based on how good I thought Ryan Gosling's performance in this was, okay? If we were to rank purely on movie itself, my list might be a bit different, but I went on my ranking of Ryan Gosling. I don't know how you did yours. Maybe you did yours on what movie you thought was best.
No, I did it more on his character, like his performance too, but also his character, like which I like the best, which is correlates to his performance. So.
Okay, so number 5, what do you got?
Number 5, I put The Gray Man, which is a newer movie on Netflix. I believe it's produced by Netflix. I don't know. We watched it recently together a couple times, and I liked it. Like the movie itself was really good, but his character just like he didn't actually see a lot of about his character, like his character development. It was more of just like an action movie, which I love them, but like I don't know. I felt like he has done better acting and have better characters in other movies.
No, yes, I have The Gray Man also. At number 5, Ryan Gosling stars as Six, this former convict of sorts who works for the CIA. And I mean, his opponent in the film, his nemesis, is Chris Evans. So, I mean, their chemistry is so funny. I mean, the definition of two actors who just give comedy one-liners while fighting. So, I did enjoy that movie, but it is at number 5 for me. Which, I mean, you may be saying, oh, it's at number 5 of 7 movies you've seen for Lexi, and 6 movies I've seen. But I still liked it, and I think we've watched it twice, maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
I believe
it's a good movie.
It is very good. So, do you want to move into number 4?
Sure. I put Crazy Stupid Love.
Oh, okay. I have Crazy Stupid Love at number 4 as well.
Copying my list. All right. I don't know. Like, I love that movie. Is so funny, and it's an amazing movie. But like, again, like that movie is so just like fast paced, and there's so many characters that you don't actually see Ryan Gosling like the whole entire time. So it's like, I loved his character, but at the same time, it was not like my favorite just because it wasn't solely about him, you know.
Yes, so that's actually why it's at 4 for me. If we were to go on movie as a whole, it's actually probably either my first or second. And I actually truly love this movie, Steve Carell. Oh, we should do Steve Carell movie rankings next. Would you do that? We've seen a lot of Steve Carell.
Yeah.
I mean, The Office is a cult class. It's just one of my most favorite series. But yes, I mean, you have him. You have Emma Stone. I mean, her and Ryan Gosling have so much chemistry. I mean, Julianne Moore's in the film. You have Marcia Tomei. She's the aunt from she's Aunt May from Spider-Man, if no one knows who that is from the MCU. And Kevin Bacon's even in this film. So, I mean, Crazy Stupid Love. I love this movie, but it is at number 4 for me. So, number 3. I know we actually have different number 3s I'm seeing. So, my number 3 is actually The Notebook.
What?
That's right. It's because I just did see it. I actually did put 2 movies ahead of it. But The Notebook is my number 3. Definitely in love with this movie, having just seen it. And I know it is more of a girly movie, but I will admit that it was a tearjerker. It was a very good movie. And it is at number 3 for me. Just because it kind of does flop between him, Rachel McAdams, and then the older versions. So Ryan Gosling, as much as he is the lead, it is kind of a 4-person lead. Would you agree?
I don't think so. I mean, the old people are definitely in the movie a little bit, but the majority of it is Ryan Gosling. The old people are more towards the end as them because their story's over. But like, I think it was Ryan Gosling like 95, 96% of the time.
Okay. What's your number 3 then?
My number 3 would be Barbie because like he did an amazing job at Ken. It was actually really funny because like he portrayed the way that young girls like me used to play with our Barbies and like so correctly. Like Barbie, like how they showed her, she would float down from the roof, and then you would have, you know, Barbie and Ken be boyfriend and girlfriend, but it's like we were little, so we didn't actually know what being boyfriend and girlfriend meant. We just knew the terms, and we're like, oh yay, like they're gonna have a sleepover, and it just like he played it perfectly, and I loved his role. He was very funny, very great. But like it wasn't like a deep role, I guess. It wasn't my favorite of his role that he has played. It was a very good one and a very funny one, lighthearted one, but not my favorite, but a very, very good one.
Yes, I see where you're coming from. And that's actually why it's not in my top 5. I mean, it could move around a bit when I do my top 10 list. But the only reason I didn't put it there is because as much as Ryan Gosling is one of the main characters, he's actually second fiddle to Margot Robbie, who is Barbie. So he does kind of fall into that. He's not a side character. He is a main character. He falls probably just under the amount of screen time Margot Robbie has. I mean, he is a main person, but I do say this movie is targeted more towards girls, so he does fall into this comedic relief of sorts. I mean, what's his only serious part in the film is when he's realizing men rule the world, and he's like, oh, well, how about the Kens rule Barbie Land?
I would say it's at the end when Barbie's like, you need to find your own self.
That was actually my least favorite part of Ken for me. I mean,
Serious?
Sigma male Ken was hilarious. So, we'll get into our number 2, because I see we do have the same number 2. That's right. I have La La Land at number 2.
That is a surprise to me because I have loved the La La Land movie since I first watched it when I was, I don't even know, like 12, 13, whenever it came out. I watched it as soon as it came out. It's just an amazing movie. The production, the music, the dance, everything. I love it. Ryan Gosling's character, I love him. He has such depth in that movie, and I don't know. I just love his character in that movie because it as I don't know, he just portrays the reality of modern relationships so well, and I loved his character so much.
Yes, I mean, this movie won so many Academy Awards, BAFTA Awards. I mean, Emma Stone won leading actress, the Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say the ending caught me so off guard. That is why it landed at number 2. And there's just, I don't know why, I just find it so fascinating when actors act as actors in a movie. It just makes it so much better.
Yeah.
And the reason that this passes The Notebook for me is because The Notebook is a fairy tale ending. La La Land is truly a real ending of not. So anyone who hasn't seen La La Land, skip this. But
Came out like 10 years ago.
La La Land does end with Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling not ending up together, and this crazy montage at the end is just what has stuck with me. When she's heading to something with her current husband, they walk into a club of sorts, and it turns out it's Ryan Gosling's jazz club he'd always wanted to open. And right when he starts to play, this whole alternate reality floods through her mind. And when Ryan Gosling finishes the song, she snapped back into reality. And they finally go their final ways for good.
Mm-hmm.
And the story writing is amazing. And be honest, did you ever think I would like a movie where they break out into play at dancing scenes all the time?
I did not think you were going to like La La Land at all because it's a more slow movie. Like it's not all like The Notebook is so dramatic and like just full of love, but La La Land is so real. Like they argue, they fight over like their careers and like not having all this time for each other, and they want different things. And it's just so real, and it gets kind of slow at times, but it's also like that's the point. Like it's showing life and what a relationship is like, especially for people who are pursuing big like career goals. So I'm surprised you liked it, but I'm glad you did.
The callbacks were crazy in this movie. I mean, think about it. It opens with this giant dance scene on the highway. Then you see Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling flip each other off. And then you see where Emma Stone goes from that point. Then you see where Ryan Gosling goes from that point, where they come together. And how about J.K. Simmons, a popular actor, as just the manager of a club? I always love when big actors are like minor roles in films, because they always give like such a good performance for such a small character.
Yeah.
All right. La La Land. I mean, what would you give that movie out of 10?
Well, definitely a 10 out of 10. I've watched it like a million times. Like it's just my favorite. I love the music. I love the dancing. I love their characters. I love the story. I've loved the movie ever since I first watched it.
It gets a 9.1 for me because I don't throw 10 out of 10s out there too often.
What's a 10 out of 10 movie for you?
A 10 out of 10 movie for me?
What's a good example of that?
Oh gosh, I need to see my DVDs. We have a lot of DVDs somehow.
Think of more like a recent one, like some Marvel movie or something.
A Marvel movie? You see, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I loved. It still does not get 10 out of 10 for me.
Like Endgame, Infinity War, those are 10 out of 10s for me.
Those are like 9.5s for me. I like
Infinity War, like Endgame is not 10 out of 10 for you?
No, I like to save my 10 out of 10.
That is just crazy.
Okay, so if anyone doesn't know, I'm actually a Planet of the Apes fan.
Gosh.
War for the Planet of the Apes would probably be a 9.8 for me. That's the greatest trilogy of all time.
Okay, so you just actually don't give out 10s at all, I see. All right.
No, you're a 10 out of 10. How about that? You're a 10 out of 10 girlfriend. Okay. Should we give away our number ones?
Sure.
All right. Do you want to do yours first or mine?
I'll do mine. Mine is The Notebook because, oh my gosh, I love Ryan Gosling in this movie so much. It was probably the first movie that I've watched him in, and he was just like the perfect guy that every little girl who watched The Notebook wanted to be with. He built
the house for her. Yeah,
he built a whole house
her
for
dream
her.
House.
And he built it exactly the way that she wanted, and even though they weren't together, he still built it for her, not knowing if they were ever going to end up together. And just the way that they are, and it was just, I loved his character so much. Like, he was like my first crush ever. Like, I wanted to be Ryan Gosling's wife because of that movie. Like, his character is just, it was so good, and I still love that movie to this day. And I don't think I cry every time as I usually do, but I definitely get teary-eyed. I just love it so much.
Yeah, it certainly is very good. I'll make sure to buy an abandoned barn and recreate your dream house for you, because that's what all girls want.
That's my expectation.
And first, let me join the army, lose my best friend. My dad has to die. I have to work in a coal mine my whole life, or a lumber yard. I don't know, but so my number one is The Nice Guys.
Really?
I've seen this movie twice, and both times I've loved it from start to finish. Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe stars these 1970s, maybe 1960s or 70s cops, or one actually. Ryan Gosling, I think they're both private investigators or something, but their chemistry is amazing. The comedy is amazing. It is a thriller. The plot twists are crazy. And where The Notebook was your first Ryan Gosling introduction, this was my first Ryan Gosling introduction. This was actually the first time I had seen him in a movie. And this movie had been a hit in theaters. And it's a shame they're not making a sequel to this, because I would love a sequel to this. It is just, I don't know if it's a bro movie, but it certainly is a movie I feel guys would appreciate more, because it is just Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe fighting bad guys. But it's not, comparing it to The Gray Man, where you have Ryan Gosling just as this mega hero fighting bad guys, explosions and stuff. There's none of that in this. This is a very realistic film of sorts. And Ryan Gosling suffers so much pain in this. He gets beat up so much. But it's Ryan Gosling. Who doesn't love Ryan Gosling? So yeah, those are our top 5 lists. The movies I still have to see are First Man, where I believe Ryan Gosling stars as like a biopic of Buzz Aldrin or whoever the first astronaut was. Drive, which I've heard is one of his first breakout performance films. Blade Runner 2049, which is a super popular film I haven't seen. And I'm halfway through The Big Short, which is about the housing crash, which I think I mentioned earlier. So, are there any Ryan Gosling movies you want to watch? He doesn't have too many, actually.
I feel like I've seen them all. Maybe Drive and Big Shot. I don't know, the popular ones that I haven't seen yet, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe Drive. We can see. We can always watch those. We always have time to watch movies.
That is true.
So yeah, I mean, that is all I got for you. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so.
No, I mean, this has been a very informative podcast. I mean, certainly the most I've talked about movies on this show. I mean, you told us all about yourself, which is what I love. I love hearing about you. I love hearing about some other future guests we might be having. You know, just diving into their backgrounds. You educated us on Peyton's disease. I mean, talked about your goals, your aspirations, what's going on at college, and you know, even being a Christian. You know, it's tough to open up about all this stuff, and I just thank you for coming on and sharing.
Anytime.
Anytime. We'll have to have you back, of course. So, if you could leave people with a message of hope, what would it be? Just a sentence, just something.
Just that you're not alone. And I know that's like cheesy and you hear it from everyone, but it's actually really true. I've seen people battle with depression and suicide, and it sucks. And just knowing that you're not alone, even if you don't believe in God or Jesus, like they are with you. And you do have people who love you out there, and yeah, you're never alone. So
I love that. It's so true in every aspect. I mean, God is always with you. And if you refuse to acknowledge God, just know your family is still always with you. I mean, you are truly never alone. I love that. I love that very much, Lexi. Thank you again for coming on the podcast.
it was a pleasure.
I'd love to hear that. All right, we're going to end it there. So thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you were surprised. I certainly was surprised. I mean, I've been, dating you for 2 years. I'm hearing some new things. I mean, I love it. So thank you all for listening. We'll be back with another UFC-related episode coming up. But as always, I hope you were surprised. Have a good day. God bless.